Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really cute and simple box that you could fill up with some Ghirardelli chocolates or some Hershey miniatures or something else small that you'd like to fit in there. And we will finish decorating this box today, but I do have one tip before we start. We're going to actually use the Into the Woods framelits to finish this box, and it also comes with a matching set of die, which you could use as well. This one you could use to punch out the pine bows, and they did give you 3, which I think is pretty cool. They finally have caught up, so they gave you 3, so you could stamp 3 and punch 3 at a time. And they also gave you 2 of the pine cone die, so these are the same. And then there are 2 trees. They're a little different, but you could punch both of them to save time. And then you have the tree, which actually I had the piece somewhere, I moved it, but this will cut out, and it will also cut out all these little scallops on the tree, and you can flip them out. And then there's one to cut out just a shape of a tree. It actually coordinates with this die here. So let me show you what we're going to do for this, but I want to give you one tip before we get started. And that tip is, oops, sorry, almost lost that. When you make yourself a template for making whatever this card may be, now this isn't the exact same box as this one because this is a little bit smaller, but I had a hard time recreating this box from a different box that I made. Well, come to find out, because I actually made it using the amazing envelope punch board, which isn't just for envelopes. And I should have written on the bottom of the box, kind of like this one, that I should write what I used to make it. So from now on, in addition to all of the these little templates that I make, they're all in crazy colors, and I have lots of different ones. What I'm also going to be writing on them is I will put what the box ends up being as a finished box. So for example, this, which is not the same as this box. This was made from a 6x6 square of paper, and it becomes a 3-inch square box, but I'm also going to write envelope punch board, or if I made it using the Simply Scored, or if I made it using even just if I did like the Stampin trimmer with some fancy things, because it took me a long time to recreate this box, which was incredibly frustrating when you're trying to make something to show people and you can't remember how you made it. And then the only other thing we did for this was we used the belly band, but we're going to just finish decorating this one a little bit, and then we're also going to decorate another one. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of stick with the same thing. We're going to make a darker colored box, and we're going to do this one in... Why don't we do, I haven't used this all that much. Let's use some cherry cobbler, because this will be great also for Christmas. Also, you could use Mary Merlot, but this is a full sheet of cardstock. We're going to trim this down just a little bit. And what we're going to need is, you do need this to be square. So you can kind of adjust this to any size that you need, so to fit pretty much any type of a candy, or you could also size it for a gift card. So if you don't want it to be square, I can show you another way to not make it square as well, which is very simple. But you do want it to be square when you start off, so you want your paper to be square. So we'll do this one 6x6. So we just have a piece of cherry cobbler, 6x6. You could use this if you wanted to decorate it with, or you could do a contrasting color, or even a complementary color. So for this, we're going to grab our envelope punch board. Let me just scoot this over so I don't make a mess. We're going to grab our envelope punch board, and I believe what I did for this one was, I think I scored at 2. We'll try this. We'll see what it looks like. So 2, and then I think I did 3 1/4. So what you want to do is, you're going to take your piece in, you're going to mark it here, line it up at 2, you're going to press the punch, and then you're going to take your little score, it's not really a bone folder, but like a score stick that it comes with, and you're going to go down the line. And then we're going to move it over to 3 1/4. Okay? And we're going to score again. So now if you want a square box, so this box is square, you're going to continue to repeat. So you would do 2, and draw your line, and 3 1/4. Okay, and there's also lots of variations you can do in this. So same thing again, 2, 3 1/4. You don't have to press the second punch if you don't want to. That gives a different look as well. 3 1/4. But if you want, and I will show you this also, so this is what it's going to end up looking like. if you want to, I'm going to round my ends while I'm talking, make a more rectangular box, there's another way you can do it, and I will show you that one as well, because it is very simple. Okay, so then all you're going to do is move all these out of the way. You can go ahead and you can take this, or you can get out your bone folder, and you do want to press on all of the score lines. Just make sure they're nice and tightly creased. And I would highly recommend using Terran tape, or if you have Be Creative tape, or the Sukwang tape. That stuff is going to hold much better, okay? Then we're going to grab, if I can find them, grab your paper snips, and we're going to trim. So for one, we're going to just trim up straight to the score line. To the score line, okay? So you can see both of those, it's to the score line. I'm going to turn around and do the same thing. To the score line, to the score line, okay? So now I'm going to flip this back out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off these little guys here. I'm going to trim this little side piece here. And then I'm going to give these just a little bit of a miter cut, because it does help with the folding of the box. And if you wanted to trim this off so it was a little bit neater, you can, okay? So again, we're going to be removing this piece, so I'm going to just save some effort. So we're going to give it a trim. Cut this off here, give this a little bit of a trim, and then square this to the end. Okay, so both of those are matching. So we're going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to fold my big flap up. Okay, and I'll show you again. So you're going to take off this piece here. You're going to take off this piece here. Okay, just like that, and then give this a little miter cut. And kind of trim the end up just a little bit. And if, again, I just did this one for simplicity's sake, you're going to just trim up this way. It's the same exact thing, or you can trim that end off. And you basically want to be left with these little flaps that are going to hold your little box closed, okay? So these flaps, you'll fold up and they're going to hold your box closed. And then your belly band will hold it completely closed. So hopefully that does make sense. Now this one is a little bit taller, only because I probably varied the measurement lines a little bit. But I want to show you one other thing just quickly before we finish this. And again, I'll stick with the same paper. So what we'll do is we're going to start out one more time, but I'm going to show you this one in case you decided you wanted to make your box more rectangular. This would be how you do it. Okay, this is kind of also the way you do an envelope when you make the envelope punch board, because you know envelopes are not square. If they are square, they cost more money to go through the postal service. But they do have a more of a rectangular shape. So we're going to start out again, same thing, with a 6x6 square. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with the same score lines, but we're going to vary it just a little bit, and you'll see. So once again, we're going to punch at 2. So punch at 2, and then take your score stick and push it down. We're going to move over one more time to 3 1/4. Okay. Now this time what we're going to do is we're going to follow the score line. So instead of going back where we were, we're going to match this up to the score line here. So the first score line is right there. If you can see that, matches right there with that little tail. Press, score. We're going to slide it over to the second one. Press, score. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to continue following. So this makes it more of a rectangle shape, okay? Still, we'll make a box. Now, whether or not this box will close the same way will be left to be seen, but it should. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just round the top, the big pieces, okay? I'm not going to round these little ones. So let's see if we can still get this done. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing again. We're going to burnish our fold lines. Now this one kind of gives you more of like an envelope look. So sometimes when you do this, you have to decide on exactly how you want this to close, okay? So just for sakes of showing you, I'm going to trim, once again, on the wide part here. We're going to trim up to the score line. Just turn it around up to the score line. Okay, so now you have this. or it's going to close, but again, it folds more like an envelope. So you have to decide, do you want to put a belly band on it, or do you want to close it so then instead you can fold it so the top goes in so it looks like a little box. So it's kind of all in what you want to do, okay? But what I want to do just quickly is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just give these just a tiny miter cut. Don't really need to trim the ends or the bottom piece, that's fine. Just a little miter on each side. And then the same on the other side. This kind of just makes it so that your box ends up being a tiny bit more square. So when you put your tape on, it goes together better. Okay, so that's all we have for that. Now I'm going to show you how to put these both together. And again, for both of these, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to grab some tearing tape. So as you see, okay, these are both 6x6 pieces. You see they do match up 100%. They are 6x6. But one is a square because we folded it on the same lines every time, and one of them is more of a rectangle, okay? So I'm going to do the square one first. And you can, you can make this however you really want to vary it. It doesn't really make much difference. Just depends on what you want it to look like. Quite honestly, I don't know where I came up with the numbers for the boxes. I think I've made so many that every time I make them a little bit different. And one more here. Put a little piece of tape here. Okay, and while I have my tearing tape out, I'm going to just put the tearing tape on this. So I'm going to just flip this over so you can see it a little bit easier. So just put this, these will be on the inside flaps. And the last one. Now, the rectangle one, we are going to need a little bit more, and I'll show you why. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take our release paper off of this. If you guys haven't seen this already, I've shared this a couple times, but this is a new tool that Stampin' Up! Has put out. It's called the Take Your Pick tool, and you're able to swap the tools around really easily. This one is really great for getting the release paper off. If you have acrylic nails, or maybe just a hard time grasping things, or arthritis, or if you have the hurry up nervous Nellies when you're making a video and the tape never wants to cooperate with you. So it really gets the tape off super easy, or the release paper I should say. So we're going to just fold this in. Now that we've taken that off, and we're going to just put this, close our box. And I'm just kind of pressing it lightly now. I'm not giving it full, because I do want to make sure that it fits. That way if I need to adjust it a little bit, I can. So I haven't pressed it too tightly just yet. Okay, and I just want to make sure that my flaps go in and everything is square, and it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just press. You can kind of put this down, press. Same thing here. So you have that. So you put your flaps in. So you have one box finished. And you can always switch the flaps if you want it to be facing up, facing down, if you like the way you cut one of your edges better. Just up to you. And now we're going to do the rectangle. So same thing again. We're just going to peel away the release paper. This one right here is probably a doozy because I kind of used a partial piece. And so this tool is available right now in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. And I am making this video today. It is in September, the beginning of September, September 9th of 2018. So if you purchase $100 in my online store, in addition to getting the 2 free full color PDFs, you will get a Stampin' Chamois for free. And if you purchase $150 in my online store, you'll get the Take Your Pick tool for free. And you'll also get 3 of those tutorials. So I'm just going to press this down. And also $50 orders always get a free tutorial. That is only valid through me. It is not a Stampin' Up! Special. That's just valid through me, Rachthestamper.com. And then we close this. So this is our little rectangle box, okay? So we have all 3 of these. So let me get all this release paper out of the way, and I'm going to show you a couple cute things we can do to decorate this. I did get out, like I said before, the really nice winter woods. So what we could do is I'm going to finish this one just with the little stamp for that. And I'm going to use some Very Vanilla. I got 2 pieces because I do really like Whisper White, but sometimes when you have like a softer color, I do like doing the Very Vanilla. So I'm going to do Thinking of You this season, and I'm going to do that in Cherry Cobbler with this. I did this with Mossy Meadow. So Cherry Cobbler and Mossy Meadow. I'm going to ink this up. And we will, I think I'm going to punch this out with a square punch. We'll have to see. I'm going to put it down just a little. That's nice. And then the other one I have that I thought would be really fun too is the Farmhouse Christmas. And this stamp set is really cool because it has a lot of neat dies that go along with it. So I'm going to do Happy Christmas Wishes. And I'm just going to swap this out. And since these boxes are Cherry Cobbler, I'm going to use the Mossy Meadow instead. So I'm going to stamp this. Okay, and I want to show you one other thing that I had handy while I'm doing that. So I have both of those stamped, and we'll see which one we decide to use for that. Put this out of the way. But I wanted to show you a couple of things. I have another, oops, where did that one go? I have another folder that I want to show you in conjunction with this that would be really great for dressing these up. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is the corrugated impressions folder, and it is a dynamic, so it does give a really, really thick punch to this. It's kind of like the old crank machine we used to have that would make the stuff, like, it looks like cardboard basically. So this one you do have to take out almost all of your plates. So we're only going to use, we're using the Big Shot. We're going to use the Big Shot platform. We're going to use this, our piece of paper, and then just one cutting pad, okay, on top. So I'm going to crank this through, and I thought this would be kind of fun. We could use this to decorate those red boxes with. Instead of the other one, I just made a little belly band with the tree. So as you can see, this gives a really deep corrugated look to it. It's really, really cool. And while we're at it, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Let me put these back. I have my 2 sentiments. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit so you can see. And I'm going to just use a square for this one, for the Happy Christmas Wishes. Actually, I'm going to make that a small square, just so it's right to the size of it. And then the Thinking of You this season, actually, you know what would look really cute on that is the Farmhouse Framelits. This has a lot of really cute, oops, wrong side. That's really neat. In case you can't find yours and you think you missed it, the picket fence is on the other side. But I'm going to use this and see how this fits. That should fit. That'll fit in there perfectly. So this is the Farmhouse Framelits. So let me cut both of these out. So make sure this is nice and straight. And Happy Christmas Wishes. You could even do this if you wanted to on a diagonal. That's kind of cute. We'll do that one instead. That looks fun. So it's like a diamond. All right, so I'm going to crank both of these through the Big Shot. Okay, and so we have our Thinking of You this season. We use that for the rectangle box, and that also did Stitch It, which was really cool. And then we have our Happy Christmas Wishes. So let me move this over. And what we're going to do for this is we could wrap this with this whole, if we went through this whole thing, but I just want this as kind of like a little decorative piece. So I'm going to trim a little bit of it off. Trim this right at one of the spaces. So we'll use that for here, and I'm going to trim it down just a little bit. And then the other thing you could do if you wanted to with this is you could take your soft suede and you could kind of drag this across. Give you a little bit of a deeper groove look to your corrugated stuff here. Put that on. I want to trim it. I just want a little bit more narrow so you can see the box a little. Okay, so we have that, and we'll put this right on top. And we could add some copper ribbon to this, or many of the other ribbons. There's so many ribbons, but I will tell you that if you're going to put this on here, definitely would use some multi-purpose adhesive liquid. So this is the Tombow glue because it gets in the grooves better, or you could use dimensionals as well. So we're just going to put that right on top, just like that. Oops. And while I'm going to make, I'm going to just set my block on here. I'm going to make a little belly band for both of these, but on this one, I'm just going to put this Happy Christmas Wishes because this is pretty cute all on its own. So this one we'll put up with some dimensionals, just some mini dimensionals, just because that's what I have handy. And just to make it a teeny bit more festive, where's my little poker tool when I need it? There we go. Okay, I'm going to add, so I have Happy Christmas Wishes we'll put on this one. I'm going to add just a little bit of the copper metallic thread. I know this video is getting to be towards the longer length of a video, but sometimes I like to be able to show you guys stuff and kind of just how my mind works as I go along with things. So I'm going to take this again. We're going to wrap it around. It's probably about 5 times. Make sure I have both ends of it. And kind of stretch it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this right on the back here. I'm going to stretch this out so it actually shows. And then I'm going to put one more dimensional, oops, just to hold that in place. Sorry, I've very dirty fingers. I've been doing a lot of stuff today in my craft room, and as you see, everything got away from me. So there we go. Just put that on there so you have that little bit of twine. If you don't like it, you could add something else on there. All right, so there's that. So there's one belly band, and then this will completely come off. So what we will do is we have this is our other little, which will go on here. And what I'm going to do with this, just for the heck of it, I'm not sure how it's going to look or not, but let's see if I can feed this in here. I don't know if I can or not. Probably should have done this before I did it. Okay, so I just rounded the edge of that a little bit just to give it, since it's got all that hardness to it, just a softer feel. So if you're going to do this, you probably want to do it ahead of time, but it is rounding them. It's just a lot of paper to stick in there. There we go. So I have rounded the edges of these. And then, how about just to wrap it? We'll wrap it with a little Mossy Meadow just to kind of tie that back in, because I wasn't intending on using the cherry cobbler on both. So I have just a little piece of paper here. And while we have it out, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to run this one through the Big Shot as well. So let me back this up just a little bit, just so you can see how you could do the whole thing. So grab our Big Shot again. I'm going to take out again all the pads. We're only going to use the platform pad and then one cutting pad when we use those dynamic folders, because they are very fat. And if you get to the point where you hear it like it sounds like it's breaking, definitely stop. So I'm going to run this in half at a time. So I'm going to stick this in like that, crank it through, and then what I'll do is flip it around and do the rest of it. Okay, so I'm going to just take this out and then line this up. I'm going to line it at the end now, so this kind of is in a divot. That way it matches. Feed this back through. Everything on my craft table is like, ah! So there you go. You have your little paper. Okay. One other thing is if you ever end up, so this has a little tear, if you do actually wet your paper when you have those big folders, it does help to keep them from breaking because it loosens up the fibers a little bit. And you just kind of have to be a little bit careful depending on where you put your folder. So this one probably went through the crease line twice. So you might want to do something that's a little bit either going the other direction or just spray it a little bit. So we can wet this. So just to cover up that spot, since it does have that little tear, I'm going to wrap this around the back, and then we'll put our, which this kind of is a little silly, but we'll put this on top of it there. That way it will cover up this little tear that we have in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put What do I want to do for this? I'm going to do a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to do this liquid glue because it'll kind of get in the grooves and they'll go together. So I'm going to bring this around. So again, I have my torn piece there in the front. I'm going to wrap this around the back. I don't want it too tight because you do want to be able to slide it off. And I'm going to put that right in there. So once it seals, it's actually going to be groove to groove. That way this will come off fairly easily. You can slide it off easily. Might have to go over just one more. Yeah, we'll go just one more. Perfect. Okay, so this definitely will take a moment to dry. But in the meantime, what I'll do is I'm gonna add this little guy on here with a few dimensionals. Got about 5 of them on there. And then we're going to peel the backing off and this will stick onto here. Another great thing you could do if you don't have paper or if you don't want to do it with paper, you could also use ribbon. And we have a really, really cool ribbon. While this is setting up, I want to show you one other thing. A super cool ribbon. This has a red and a white stripe on the in between. So even if you wanted to do something, since we have a lot of corrugated here, I wasn't thinking ahead of time, we're just going to put a little piece of this in the background. Put that right on there. I'm going to add a little bit of Tombow liquid glue, but you could also add if you have fast fuse or tear and tape, but you definitely want something that's got a little bit of hold to it. Snail is not going to hold this together because of the different types of textures on this. Okay, so I'm going to put that in. I want to give this a little trim so it's got the little matching end. There we go, even though they go in a different direction. Trim this up. There we go, perfect. So this is also a new one in the holiday catalog. It's striped burlap trim. So lots of fun new stuff in the catalog, and it is available to order from right now. You can go to rachthestamper.stampinup.net. I'm going to set this on top. And you can get all these things. So even though we have double corrugated paper there, and I'm going to pull this off just so I can give this a press on the inside. It does look pretty neat because we added the soft suede to this piece of crumb cake. Plus my dirty fingers are making it look very antique-y. And then we added just this little piece of ribbon here. And again, we did have a tear, so we put the tear on the front. That way we could cover it up. And then what you would do is you could fill whatever you want to do, put in your box. I'm going to have to remember to take this out right away or I'll never be able to find them again. So you can put whatever you want in your box. You can even use these little corrugated pieces to make little decorative stuff inside. You're going to fold it closed, and then all you're going to do is just slide your belly band right on, just like that. How cute is that? Super fun. Lots of fun. And I will tell you, I really like this combination between the Mossy Meadow and the Cherry Cobbler, but another really nice one too will be the Mary Merlot. So I will put all of the directions for this and all of the supplies onto my blog later. But once again, just remember, when you have your envelope punch board, pretty much the sky's the limit. You can make whatever size envelope you want. You could follow along with some of these if you'd like to find out how to make your envelope. The only thing is when you do these measurements on here, it does tend to make them flat. So if you want anything that has any space, you want to make sure that you start off with something that's going to be a little bit square. So this can kind of give you like a starting point on how to make your card. But again, just use some paper, give it like a practice shot, and then find something from there that you like. So thank you guys as always for joining. I hope you love this instructional as much as I did to provide it to you. And if you have any questions, you can shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. And you can always leave me a message here on Facebook and on YouTube as well. You can follow me as well on Instagram. And my blog is rachthestamper.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.